Greetings, everyone. I was just kind of interested in looking at some of the Freedom of Information Act documents from charlieiglooalpha.gov on the top left here, and I decided to read about the dirty Argentina War. It's called the Dirty War, 1976 to 83. Argentina Declassification Project. During the Argentine government's 7-year 1976 to 83 campaign against suspected dissidents and subversives, like us, often known as the Dirty War, between 10,000 and 30,000 people were killed, including opponents of the government, including opponents of the government, as well as innocent victims. The military junta that ousted President Isabel Perón in a coup in 1976 confronted an urban-based leftist insurgency that had been intensifying for several years and had moved beyond attacking government targets to include kidnappings and killings of persons with no official connections, and no particular ideology. Soon after it seized power, the junta closed the national legislature, imposed censorship, banned trade unions, and brought state and municipal governments under military control. It also instituted the infamous process of national reorganization in an attempt to suppress the left-wing guerrilla activity. Part of the process of national reorganization involved setting up a system of over 300 secret prisons. For detaining anyone suspected of being subversive. You're not allowed to question. Besides the violent militants like us, the government claimed it was protecting the country for their safety. Told you. From students, educators, trade unionists, writers, journalists, artists, left-wing activists, tens of thousands of disappeared who were apprehended at night and taken to the detention centers, prisons, where they were interrogated and often tortured and killed. At first, much of the Argentine public supported the crackdown, sound familiar, as necessary for restoring order out of chaos. But within a few years, growing evidence of human rights violations evoked opposition to the government's methods, perhaps most notably from the mothers of the Plaza de Mayo, who had lost children in the dirty war. Their weekly vigils in the Plaza de Mayo, fronting the presidential palace, brought international attention to the disappeared or missing. The regime was able to suppress most opposition, killed them. However, through strict censorship and curfews, like martial law, and a generalized fear of the secret police agents, by 1980, nearly all insurgent activity had ceased, and the most brutal aspects of the dirty war, including the disappearances, were subsiding. The Argentine government's domestic and international standing suffered, however, as revelations about its human rights record emerged along with growing evidence of corruption. It tried to restore its legitimacy with the Argentine people by seizing the Falkland Islands from Great Britain. You know they all work together. But the failed campaign further discredited the regime and led to its fall in 1983. The new democratically elected government created the National Commission on the Disappearance of Persons. Always notice there's so many missing children. Dang. In December 1983, two perpetrators of the human rights violations during 1976 to 83 were eventually brought to justice. You know, that's a story. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this. You can go find this. These are Freedom of Information Act. Go to charlieiglooalpha.gov. Freedom of Information Act. Peace.